I have my moments.
Okay.
It's less about never. I would say it's never about the content, but definitely the marketing, the fundraising, the letdowns, the sense of feeling really alone still in this journey. I don't know if you would put that in the work category, but I definitely have those periods where I'm thinking, who am I doing this for? You know, I all that passion, all that excitement, all those hours, I still have not paid myself a penny, and it's been 20 months, and I never believe any of my contractors should work for free. So I've been paying them, and you know, in my mind, I justify it and say, well, I'm getting so much out of this, you know, and I truly, truly am. There has to be some sort of sustainability though with it. And after 20 months, I a little bit more of my business hat is starting to come on and think, okay, we got to think about how to make this sustainable for not just my contractors, but for myself. That's the uglier part of the work side, and the self-doubt that comes with that around, does anybody care what these messages are?
I feel I have a similar experience. So the podcast I've been working on for 6 months, but we've really only been live, you know, to the world for 3. But it's a similar feeling that I have. We talked about a little bit earlier, where it's how much impact am I having? When is it going to be sustainable? Does it? Yeah, you feel that loneliness. But actually doing the podcast, actually contacting the people and establishing these great connections, it's tremendously rewarding. And I think that you just have, for me, I just have to believe that if I just keep going, you know, my goal is to push it for as long as I can. And as you do the work, you know, step by step by step, it's just going to keep building. Even if it's slow, it's going to happen at some point. At some point, there's an inflection point where things turn.
I absolutely agree. And gosh, I just read something this morning. It was 3 tips from Warren Buffett on how to live a successful life. And his second one was believe in yourself, invest in yourself. I mean, Warren Buffett, who's like the biggest investor in the world, and he's saying, number 2 thing you have to do to be successful in this life is invest in yourself, which, you know, he talked about engaging in the things that matter to you, educating yourself every day, learning from somebody different every day, and just, you know, allow that when you go to bed at night, know that everything you did in that day was an investment in what you believe in. And okay, if Warren Buffett says that's a recipe for success, then I think we're on the right trajectory, Gustavo.
We're on the right, exactly. The North Star is there, right? We just have to keep following it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to kind of transition. So with your Unfixed project, I absolutely love it. It is some of the most engaging, emotionally rewarding content I have seen in a long time. I'd put it, like I told you before, I'd put it right up there with Trip Camp, with the best documentaries out there. I mean, and let's dive into that. What inspired you to take on that project? How did that come about?
Oh man. Well, I think I've said this before, but it was selfish. It started selfishly because I was lost. I needed help, and I needed to find people that were doing what I needed to learn, which was how to live well with the challenges that I was experiencing. I developed this strange neurological disorder 6 years ago, and it just bottomed me out. I was incapable of looking at a screen. The sensation that accompanies this, it's called Mal de Débarquement Syndrome. It's a vestibular disorder. And I woke up one morning and I was at 8-foot choppy seas. And I would take a step and it felt like I was a trampoline under my foot. And I'd take another step and it felt like I was in a fun house. And look at a computer screen or your smartphone and it just would send my stomach into, these retching circles, and it just was nonstop. And of course, as with anybody that has a vestibular disorder, one of the first accompanying symptoms is panic attacks and anxiety, because suddenly your world is upside down, quite literally. And there's no escape. You're thinking like, how do I get out of this body for a second? Because I need reprieve. And with Mal de Débarquement, there's no reprieve. It's not an episodic thing. It's a 24/7, laying down, standing up. The only reprieve with it is passive motion. So as soon as I get into a moving car, it's not just a little bit gone, it's completely gone.
Wow.
And then as soon as you get to a stoplight, it comes back full force. So like I've said to many people, I coast at stop signs now.
And there's no reprieve with sleep either?
No, no. I mean, even people in dreams, not that I always dream about being on a boat, but often the dreams take place with that type of motion. It's just, and then as soon as I wake up, it's just like my nervous system has to reacquaint itself all over again with this sensation. And after 6 years, I have definitely adapted. I'm having a really good day right now. So I would say we're on 1 foot seas. And my brain can kind of ignore a lot of this. Yesterday, it was a miserable day, and I was just standing at the computer, and it was just, everything was moving. No rhyme or reason, but I didn't have resources. I was a total fixer-upper. Everything in my life, ballerina, straight A's, felt like I could control the universe. And this was the first thing I felt really out of control with. I'd even, lost my father to a car accident when I was in high school. And I somehow was even able to package that in my brain as like something I could control, at least how I responded to it. But this was just all encompassing. And I isolated, as many of us do. I couldn't work. I had some compassionate friends early on that were thinking it would pass, as I did, in a couple months. And then when it kept going, and year after year, I lost friendships. I pursued so many physicians. I didn't even have a proper diagnosis until 4 years into this.
Wow.
So that was, I've spoken with a lot of other vestibular patients now, and many of them find a proper diagnosis early on. And that's a lifeline, because then at least you have something to tell people what the hell is going on with you. But I thought I was just losing my mind. Nearly lost my relationship with my husband. I moved in with my mom for 7 months. I mean, I went back to, felt like an infant again. And so frightened. That was, when I think back to that time, I was just absolutely frightened, and not frightened for my future, not frightened for what was happening, tomorrow. I was frightened from the experience I was having. It was like my body was torturing me. And so I was just scared. Basically, I didn't even have the energy to think about like, oh, what is the outcome of this? And what does this mean for my future? I was just scared to feel these feelings over and over and over and over and over again. So, long story, I did start to adapt. I also started to lean more into this experience and realize there's no escape, so I better find a way to just allow this to be part of my experience and play all kinds of tricks on my brain, like, oh, the universe is dancing with me, or whatever. All the things that I could try to get my nervous system to calm down with it. And around year 4, my husband and I were talking about this idea of how our culture really wants fixes for everything. They want these heroic Hollywood arcs. They want the guy that's going to climb the mountain. They don't want the one that's going to be at the bottom and kind of feeling like shit, And so we talked about like this word, unfixed, and how few mentors or models we had for that. However, there's a lot of people with chronic illness. In fact, 1 in 4, I think it is, people have some form of chronic illness. 1 in 3 in the world is what it is. 1 in 6 in the US. That includes diabetes and heart disease. So anyway, I just started to put up flyers, and I thought, I'm going to start finding these people and talking to them. And I started locally. I found Dylan, who you met through through the videos. He lives here in Oregon, and I met Todd, the gentleman with Parkinson's. I met a few others, and I thought, these people are incredible. I want to know more. So it spread pretty quickly. I interviewed about 50 within a few months. And every time I hung up the phone after discussing their lives, I felt hope for the first time. Not hope for a cure, which is what I hung my hat on before, but I felt hope for all the incredible virtues that come from living a life of disability. So that was the inception of Unfixed.